Hey guys, my wife just finished 4 weeks of the potato diet with some modifications, and in this video I'm going to talk you through her results. First of all, the original potato diet was created by a guy called Chris Voigt, who worked for an American Potato Commission. He ate nothing but potatoes for 2 months, a little bit of oil and seasoning allowed, and this was more of a marketing stunt to prove that potatoes have all the nutrition you need. He wasn't trying to create a fad diet. If anything, he was actively discouraging other people from copying what he's done. Yet here we are. A better known and more recent example is Penn Jillette, the magician from Penn and Teller, whose 100-pound weight loss was kicked off with a version of the potato diet. There's several variations, but the basic rules are you eat only potatoes for 3 to 5 days of a week. You're allowed a little bit of seasoning, but you're not allowed condiments. And you're only drinking water, black coffee or tea. And before you ask, no, you're not allowed chips or wedges. There's 2 reasons this diet is technically effective. One of them is blandness and the other is satiety. Penn said his motivation was the former. He effectively wanted to reset his taste palate as well as his eating habits by ensuring that he's only going to eat when he's hungry and not just bored. The second point is something I've covered in another video, and that is satiety. Satiety is just how full a certain food makes you feel, and calorie for calorie, a study showed that boiled potatoes are way out in front as the most filling food you can eat. Being in a calorie deficit, meaning eating fewer calories than your body burns off, which is the basis of weight loss, is tough on dieters because you tend to feel hungry all the time. By eating potatoes, you should be able to eat fewer calories than usual without any extra hunger. Now, I should clarify here that this is not a good diet in its original form, but my wife was keen to try it out and I was happy for her to do so if I made some minor modifications. The first of these is protein, which was to be no lower than 45 grams per day, and then fat, which is required to absorb some vitamins properly, was set at a minimum of 30 grams. Neither of these values are ideal, but they are better than what you get from potatoes alone. The protein came from tuna and the fats came from either kefir or coleslaw, so still keeping things quite bland. She followed this diet for 15 days out of 27, eating normally for the other 12, and this was roughly 4 days on, 3 days off. The only exercise she did at the time was bodyweight squats. Over the 27 days, she lost 4.5 pounds, which is 2 kilos, though nearly all of that was in the first 2 weeks, and almost an inch off her waist, which shrunk in the first 7 days before settling at 32.5. So that's a success, right? It's a common misconception that any weight loss is good, and the answer lies in the distinction between weight loss and fat loss. Fat loss is losing just fat, while weight loss is losing anything, including water weight and muscle. The goal with weight loss should be to hold on to as much muscle as possible, meaning you're only losing body fat. To quote a 2017 review on the topic, the potential health benefits of diet-induced weight loss are thought to be compromised by the associated loss of lean body mass. They concluded that diet-induced weight loss reduces muscle mass without affecting strength, so you might not notice the difference in day-to-day life. A higher protein intake helps preserve lean body mass during weight loss, hence the tuna, and endurance and strength training both preserve muscle mass in a calorie deficit, hence the bodyweight squats. Now, the lower your body fat is to begin with, the higher proportion of your weight loss that's likely to come from muscle as opposed to fat, and so the more focus you should put on the higher protein diet and exercise. In an 8-week study that split participants into a diet and strength training, diet and aerobic training, or just diet, they lost almost exactly the same amount of fat, but the other 2 groups lost almost twice as much muscle as the strength training group. Strength training means lifting something heavy, so at 65 kilos that means my wife's bodyweight squats are not enough. As an example, in this study they used 8 different gym machines and did 3 sets on each one. As for protein, another study split overweight women into a diet including 68 grams of protein per day or 125 grams per day, with overall calories being the same. For reference, a chicken breast is around 35 to 40 grams of protein and a can of tuna is 30. After 10 weeks, they both lost 7 kilos, but the high protein group lost 600 grams more fat and therefore 600 grams less muscle. That shows that protein has a muscle sparing effect when losing weight, which is a good thing. So what happened with my wife? She used body fat scales every day. While they aren't perfectly precise, we did correct for the known bias in water content, and we found that her body fat percentage remained roughly the same. What this means is, although she lost 2 kilos, 4.5 pounds, the weight that she lost was roughly in the same ratio of muscle to fat as she already had in her body. The women in the protein study were heavier, but they were eating 68 grams per day on the lower protein group, whereas my wife was on 57 grams on average over the 27 days. Other studies have shown that up to 2.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight would be beneficial for weight loss. For her, that would be 143 grams of protein. I would say even going up to 100 would be very beneficial. Protein is also very filling. Behind boiled potatoes, protein-rich foods scored very well. If you look at the original potato diet, if she made up her calories under those rules, she would have taken in 28 grams of protein per day and only 2 grams of fat. What that means is she probably would have lost even more muscle mass and maybe had some minor nutritional deficiencies. In conclusion, the potato diet and other fad diets are not good for you. Instead, you should focus on creating a manageable calorie deficit, getting plenty of protein, and doing strength training at least once a week. If you're much heavier, you have a lot more fat to lose, then it's not as important to do the strength training, but it's a good idea to do so for your overall health. Cheers.